What's up, guys? Good morning. Hope all is well. Just in the middle of painting some flash and thought I'd turn the camera on and kind of yap about stuff. So I am kind of just experimenting on these. They're obviously different from a normal flash painting. You know, I don't have a skin colored background. And I'm just using this opportunity to try something completely different, try out a color palette that is a bit scary to me, not in terms of evoking like, you know, a scary feeling like a Halloween palette or something like that, but along the lines of it's not my typical go-to color palette. And then on top of working on a background that's tinted differently from what I'm used to, essentially what I'm just doing is breaking myself out of my comfort zone a little bit and just doing something that is uncomfortable and trying it out and seeing what happens. You know, I've been doing a sort of challenge to myself, painting every single day for the last couple of months. And I will say the growth is definitely slow and not linear by any means. And it's been really challenging for me to, you know, to work every single day and feel like it's not really going anywhere. And the sort of artist that I'm becoming because of that, in terms of like my mentality, is actually, I'm realizing what the real benefit has been all along, because I've been really letting go of my attachment to perfectionism and moving more into doing it just because the act feels good of painting every day. And I'm realizing more and more that that really is what I've been sort of addicted to this whole time. Is I thought that I wanted things to look a certain way because that would get me recognition, and I thought the recognition was what I was going for. And I actually kind of misread that in myself and had been sort of pursuing the wrong thing. And so now I'm stepping out of that and focusing more on just my authenticity and my expression, no matter how that appears. And following the act of exploration, you know, there's sort of a trap, I think, where like you move into your authenticity and you think that means finding a style and sticking to that. And for me, that's not what it is. My authenticity, what makes me an authentic artist to myself, my nature, is my sort of curiosity and my malleability and my detachment or lack of attachment to being recognizable right now. You know, I'm sure that on some level, from an outside perspective, you could find similarities in everything that I've put out there. But for the most part, I'm like a random generator. I'm just putting stuff out there right now, seeing what feels good to me, seeing what people resonate with. But more than anything, it's just the learning and the growing, becoming more familiar with my tools, becoming more familiar with the application of things, the design elements. All of that has been a really interesting aspect of following this pursuit of painting every single day. And I'm noticing too how, and I fell into this trap I was part of this for a long time, how once you reach a certain level, you feel this sort of expectation to do good work every time. And so then it becomes difficult to sort of mass produce, because the more you put out there, the more you increase your chances of making something that's not good. And that crippled me for a really long time. I was scared to put stuff out there or to really ramp up my production, because I knew that the more I increase my output, the more I increase the chances of putting something less favorable out there. But like I said, I'm at a point in my journey where my authenticity is the most important to me. And part of that is being comfortable and vulnerable with the work I make that's not as favorable, I should say. I think that, in a sense, as a society, we've commoditized and turned art into so much of a production, what's the word I'm looking for? A commodity, a product, that we've forgotten that to be an artist is very similar to being a scientist. And that we're here as these sort of interdimensional travelers, and these we're like somewhere between a mystic, an explorer, and a scientist. And so it's easy to, once you find your sort of niche and what works, especially when it comes to, you know, making money or recognition, it's easy to fall into the trap of becoming a product maker. And of course, there is an aspect of that. But when you become limited by that in terms of making things because you think it will sell or it's trendy, and you've traded that for the act of exploring and expanding yourself as an artist, when you've traded that curiosity for the comfort of your style, you've actually lost the essence of it. You've strayed from the path, in my opinion. And I'm saying this because this is sort of the metamorphosis that I've been going through for the last couple of years, and all these realizations that I've been having as I've moved into the practice of being a professional artist, a living artist. Okay, let's see, what color do we want to put in there? I think we're gonna have to do some pink again, just because the pink didn't show well against that orange. And then we'll just leave those blank. Yeah, you know, especially with social media too, it's easy to fall into the trap of making things for a specific outcome instead of simply just to make something for the sake of creation. You know, the fact that we have creative faculties where we can take something from potential as just a thought and turn it into a tangible creation is a very powerful ability to have. And exercising that ability is not for show, it's to use it continuously in continuous expansion. It's sort of like going to the gym just so that you can, you know, show off your muscles, which could potentially lead you to using steroids because you're more focused on the result as opposed to going to the gym so that you can see what your body's capable of when it's being used in its capacity like that. It's just a different perspective. And something I think that's really worth considering if you're an artist. And I think one of the reasons why a lot of people get a creative block too is because they've boxed themselves in. They're thinking about what product can I make that's going to give me the validation that I need to keep going. And as an explorer, as a scientist, it's not about validation, it's about seeing what happens and testing for the sake of doing that, because you have the faculties to do so. And I just think that's really a fascinating perspective to take. Even if you're copying or tracing, developing those motor skills and seeing that connection between your mind, your eyes, your hands, all of that process that you go through it's just incredible. I don't think enough of us really take the time to think about how amazing that ability is. And that's really why we are doing this, because we're exercising a part of ourselves that is so mysterious, and the fact that we can even do that is just amazing. So this isn't going to be a long video. I'm about to cut this now before I even finish these, because I just wanted to get that message out there, really, and just I don't really know what I'm going to title this video. Something about like maybe I won't allude to what I'm gonna be talking about in the title. We'll see. I hope everyone has a wonderful day. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see y'all next time.